The story begins in South Korea, where we see a man named Kim talking to a bank employee over the phone. Unfortunately, he receives terrible news. His loan installment was overdue, and his total debt, which was around $75,000, had now ballooned to $210,000. But this news only strengthened the decision that was already brewing in Kim's mind. After the call ended, he walked to the edge of a bridge. There was no one around to help him, so he jumped into the Han River, believing that this would put an end to all his problems. But a few hours later, when he opened his eyes, he found himself lying alive on the shore of a small island with no one around. Confused and worried, Kim started looking around and realized that he had ended up on a tiny island located right beneath the same bridge. Figuring that someone would show up sooner or later, Kim decided to spend the rest of the day sleeping. He used pieces of cardboard and newspaper as a blanket and dozed off comfortably. The next morning, he was woken up by the sound of a passing ship in the distance. Embarrassed by his condition, he rushed to call out for help, but only one passenger noticed him. And even that person couldn't understand that Kim was asking for help, so the passenger simply waved back and moved on. Kim felt hopeless and started screaming loudly for help, but by then, the ship had gone too far and nobody heard his voice. He then tried to find a way off the island, but the small island was completely surrounded by water, and there was no way to climb back up to the bridge. When he had no other option left, Kim remembered that his phone was still in his pocket, but its battery was almost dead. Without wasting any time, he called the emergency services and told them he was stranded on a deserted island near the Han River Bridge. But the operator found the story so bizarre that she assumed it was a prank and hung up on him. Kim's phone battery was nearly finished, and he started scrolling through his contact list to figure out who he could call for help. That's when he noticed the number of his ex-girlfriend, Sue. But unfortunately, Sue was still deeply heartbroken from their breakup, and before Kim could say anything, she got emotional and hung up too. Just then, Kim received another incoming call and tried to ask for help, but the person on the other end was a salesgirl who was determined to sell him something. Poor Kim desperately tried to explain that he was stranded on an island, but the girl kept talking until his phone battery died completely. Finally, he was left with only one option: trying to cross the river. He started walking into the water until he reached the deepest part. But his biggest problem was that he had never learned to swim in his entire life. When he tried, he nearly drowned in the deep waters of the Han River. Luckily, he somehow managed to make it back to the shore, but now he had no way to call for help at all. Kim then decided to go back to his original plan. As soon as he found a tall enough tree, he tied his necktie to a branch, stood on a stone, and placed it around his neck. But just as he was about to kick the stone away, he suddenly changed his mind and removed the tie. At that very moment, he felt a sharp pain in his stomach. Then his eyes fell on the red flowers right in front of him, flowers he hadn't seen in years. These flowers were actually edible, and they tasted quite sweet. Kim decided to taste one, but the moment he ate it, tears streamed down his face because it reminded him of a time when his life used to be happy. After experiencing all of this, Kim stood up and decided that nothing was over yet. He had to survive on this island no matter what until help arrived. After cleaning himself up, Kim went to drink water from the river and also found some mushrooms in the jungle. After that, he gathered some firewood and spent the entire evening building a campfire so he could stay warm at night. While checking his pockets, Kim found several credit cards in his wallet, all with unpaid bills. As he threw everything away, Kim realized that he didn't need any of these things to survive, and for the first time, he truly felt free. The next day, he started a new routine on the island. He began collecting everything that could be useful. He found a bottle of liquid soap along with a duck-shaped amusement park ride cabin. After a lot of effort, Kim dragged the cabin under the bridge and then used plants and branches to build a comfortable bed inside it where he could rest during the day. But after resting, he had to search for food again. He crafted a makeshift spear and tried to catch fish in the river with it. While searching in the shallow part of the river, he spotted something moving in the water and made a sudden, sharp strike to catch what he thought was a fish. But he had become so desperate for food that what he had actually stabbed was his own leg. He stumbled out of the water with the spear stuck in his foot. Despite this, he made another attempt. This time, he crafted a makeshift net, but all his efforts went to waste. He was tired of surviving on just mushrooms. So Kim set out to find something else. That's when he suddenly spotted a bird's nest on a tree. He tried to climb up, but since he had never climbed a tree before, he barely made it up a little. All that effort only made his condition worse. To top it off, the bird living in that nest pooped on his head. Frustrated, Kim went back to the river to wash himself. But luckily, while coming out after bathing, he spotted a fish swimming in the river, and he finally managed to get himself a proper meal. Days continued to pass like this, and apart from catching fish, Kim also learned how to catch birds. After eating, he would sit in the middle of his field And even though he had absolutely nothing to do, he still smiled, because he never imagined that being alone and away from the world could bring him so much peace. Then we see that a few days earlier, in another part of the city, a girl named Young was struggling with severe anxiety. She spent her entire day locked inside her room. She wouldn't even step out to talk to her parents or throw away the garbage. Instead, she would stuff everything into plastic bags and pile them up in her room. She even took her food by sliding it under the door. Despite all this, Young had a fixed routine. She would eat in between her work on the computer and even exercise. Apart from all that, she was heavily active on social media. But to hide her real identity, she had created multiple fake profiles. At the end of the day, when her parents fell asleep, Young would do her favorite activity, taking photographs of the moon. These photos made her feel lighter, as if she were in a place where gravity had no effect, where there was no one else, just silence. But reality was completely different. Apart from staying locked in her room, the girl only saw sunlight 2 days a year. Today happened to be one of those days. She attached a massive lens to her camera and was scanning the entire city through it. During this, she spotted Kim's help message written on the ground, and then she saw Kim trying to hang himself with a tie. The moment she saw this, a deep restlessness stirred inside her, and without even knowing him, her heart told her that this person shouldn't die. Sometime later, when Kim changed his mind, Young felt a bit of relief. Over the next few days, she kept watching the stranger from afar. His life, his routine, all of it became her world too. Meanwhile, on the island, Kim was playing golf with improvised equipment to keep his loneliness at bay. He tried every possible way to keep himself busy. Just then, another boat passed by nearby. The thought of asking for help crossed his mind, but he knew it would be pointless, so he held back. He ran toward the jungle, and suddenly his foot stepped on something strange. He looked down and found an empty noodle packet. The seasoning sachet was still sealed. In this life far removed from the normal world, he started missing the little things of everyday life, especially noodles. His craving for noodles grew so intense that he spent the entire night dreaming about spicy noodles. The very next morning, he made a new resolve. He would make his own noodles. He started digging the ground to find grains, but came up empty-handed. His hunger kept growing, and for a moment he thought about pouring the seasoning directly into his mouth. But the very next second, he stopped himself because he didn't want to waste the seasoning. Exhausted, he lay down on his makeshift bed. But hidden within his frustration was an idea. A plan suddenly hit Kim's mind. He thought that birds also eat grains, so their droppings must sometimes contain undigested seeds. That was all the spark he needed. He picked up a piece of metal and started collecting bird droppings from the top of the cabin, where birds frequently relieved themselves. He then chose a spot on the island and began digging the soil with a large rock to prepare it for farming. Amidst loneliness, hunger, and helplessness, a fresh beginning had taken shape. Kim finally scattered the seeds he had collected from the bird droppings across the ground. About 2 months later, his crops slowly started to sprout. Throughout this entire time, Young kept watching the stranger from a distance. She was overjoyed watching him because it was exactly the kind of life she wanted for herself. She too, just like Kim, wanted to live peacefully in solitude under the open sky. This realization gave her even more courage to reach out to that man. It had been years since Young had left her room, but this time, her desire to connect with Kim overpowered her fear. She put on warm clothes and a helmet, stepped out of her apartment, and slowly, carefully made her way to the bridge over the river. Looking down at the island from there, she pulled out a bottle from her backpack with a message written inside it. She tossed the bottle down among the trees. The next day, Young woke up earlier than usual to check if Kim had found her message. But when she discovered that the bottle had gotten stuck in the tree branches and never reached him, she was deeply disappointed. 3 more months passed like this, and by now Kim, with his long beard and hair, had fully adapted to island life. He had learned to climb trees, gather eggs for breakfast, and his farming was going strong as well. On top of that, using cans, wooden pieces, and his old suit, he had even built a scarecrow to protect his crops from birds. But then Kim was stunned to see a tiny plant sprouting from the ground. His hard work was finally beginning to pay off. After finishing his work, he went for a stroll around the island. That's when he noticed a glass bottle stuck in a tree branch. When he pulled it out, there was a piece of paper inside with just one word written on it: "Hello." He immediately started talking to his scarecrow, saying that this message didn't arrive on its own. There must be someone out there watching him. To confirm this, Kim picked up a stick and wrote on the muddy shore, "How are you?" Much later, when Young saw that message written on the sand through her camera, she was filled with joy. That night, she went out again and tossed another message. The next day, Kim found another bottle that read, "I'm fine. How are you?" This small exchange of words was enough to make Kim happy, and even though he had no idea who was behind these messages, he felt like he had found a true friend. His day got even better when he saw his crops growing in the field. The corn ears were starting to form. In just a few days, Kim would have enough corn to make his very own noodles. On the other side, seeing the man on the island so happy, Young decided to send him a special gift. She called a restaurant and asked the delivery person to drop off instant noodles at an island beneath the Han River Bridge. The delivery guy was confused by the address, but Young paid him generously for the effort, so the man agreed and rented a pedal boat to cross the river. When he finally reached the island, he was stunned to see a man living there all by himself. Nevertheless, as per the deal, he delivered Young's package and also gave Kim an extra dish from the restaurant. From far away, Young was watching everything through her camera. She wanted to see the man's reaction on the island. But to her surprise, instead of accepting the order, Kim handed all the dishes back to the delivery man and told him to return everything to the girl who sent it. A while later, the delivery man had no choice but to go back and hand all the food to Young. When she opened the door and asked what happened, the delivery man explained that the man on the island said he wants to grow and cook his own food. As long as the desire to eat noodles stays alive inside him, he will keep farming on the island. He cannot survive without the dream of eating his own noodles. Young understood his decision and was deeply moved by it. Later, she too wholeheartedly took a bite of the noodles, as if she could feel the hope burning inside Kim. Despite being so far apart, Kim was starting to have an impact on Young. The very next morning, she stepped out of her room and met her mother. Her mother was shocked to see this change in behavior. She asked if Young needed anything from the market. Inspired by Kim, Young asked for corn seeds and some supplies because she wanted to start a small garden inside her room. Her mother was even more surprised, but she promised to bring everything because after a very long time, her daughter had stepped out and actually asked for something. After that, Young sent another message in a bottle, which Kim found the next day. It read, "Sorry." Kim also felt bad about sending the food back, but to make up for his mistake, he did something playful. He drew an ocean in the sand and then started pretending to swim on the ground, as if a giant shark was chasing him. He had no idea, but Young was watching all of this and laughing uncontrollably. She recorded all these moments on her camera. A few more months passed, and Kim's hard work finally started showing results. Besides growing corn and making noodles, he had also cultivated cucumbers, peppers, beans, and several other vegetables in his fields. Whatever seeds he found inside bird droppings, he would plant them. Finally, he ground all the corn in a bucket to make flour and then cut it into thin strips using a metal disc. After that, Kim put everything into a pot of water, and the noodles were ready to be cooked over the fire. He then added eggs and vegetables, and lastly, he poured in the seasoning packet that he had carefully preserved for all those months. When everything was finally ready, he tasted it with chopsticks, and it became impossible for him to hold back his tears. He understood that all his effort had paid off. From far away, Young was watching all of this through her camera, and overwhelmed with emotion, she sent another message congratulating him. Kim was thrilled to see it, but now he wanted to know who the secret friend really was. The next morning, Young looked through her camera again. A new message was written on the sand. "Who are you?" Seeing this, Young got a little nervous because she always preferred being alone. She wouldn't even meet her own parents, so how could she reveal her identity to a stranger? Even on social media, she hid behind fake profiles and edited photos. After a lot of thought, she wrote another message and went all the way to the bridge. But just as she was about to throw the bottle, she changed her mind and went back home. Another day passed and Kim kept waiting for a message from his secret friend, but there was no sign of any bottle anywhere on the island. Frustrated, he wrote another message on the sand. This time he asked, "Why? Why aren't you responding?" Even after seeing all of this, Young stayed silent. When she felt things were getting out of hand, she gave up trying to communicate with Kim and shut all her curtains. Young decided to go back to her old routine. She checked her messages on social media. But even there, her followers had discovered the truth behind her fake profiles, and now everyone was hurling abuses at her in the comments. All of this broke Young even further, and she completely retreated into her room. She abandoned both Kim and the small cornfield in her room. A few days went by like this, and a severe storm hit the city. On his tiny island, Kim was doing everything he could to survive, but the rain and wind were so fierce that his entire camp started falling apart. The duck-shaped cabin that had been his shelter for so long began sliding into the water. Despite his best efforts, Kim couldn't hold it back. The river eventually swept the cabin away. A few days later, the storm passed, but without his camp and without his secret friend, Kim felt lonelier than ever before. In anger and frustration, he wrote a message on the sand. This time, he was cursing his friend for abandoning him. From far away, Young was watching all of this through her camera. She felt terrible about everything that had happened. Just then, she noticed someone heading toward the island. Suddenly, two government agents appeared in front of Kim. They were shocked to see him living there alone. Assuming he was a homeless person, they asked him to come along, but Kim flatly refused and tried to run away across the island. However, he quickly ran into more agents, and within moments, the entire team had surrounded him. He tried to resist and told them that this was his home, but the agents forcefully grabbed him and pinned him to the ground. Finally, the group leader warned him that this island is a natural reserve. It's government land, and he can't just claim ownership of it. But Kim kept pleading to let him stay because he was afraid that if he left, he would never be able to find out who his friend was, the person who talked to him and stood by him during his darkest times. But they picked him up, returned his suit that had been hanging on the scarecrow, and took him away from the island on a boat. Watching all of this, Young became even more restless. She wanted to help her friend. She started thinking of a way. After a lot of deliberation, she made a decision. She couldn't sit back anymore. She stepped out of the house without even wearing her helmet. She wanted to reach Kim at any cost. On the other side, the government agents brought Kim back to the city, but they dumped him right in the middle of the road and left him to his fate, the very place where everything had started. Ending up there again, Kim's hopes were completely shattered. This time, he thought he would go to the tallest building in the city and end everything for good. He got on a bus. He had no cash, but he tried his card. Somehow his card was still working. He sat quietly, waiting for his fate to unfold. At the same time, Young was still searching for Kim, but she had no idea where he was. She stopped for a minute to catch her breath, and that's when she overheard some people talking. They were saying they had seen the island man getting on a bus. Young immediately sprinted toward the next stop and reached the bus, but she was too late because the bus had already left. She felt like she had lost her last chance. She turned around crying, but right then, a siren went off across the city. Because of that siren, Kim's bus was forced to stop on the road. Gathering every last bit of her strength, Young ran toward that bus. She finally reached it, climbed aboard, and stood right in front of Kim. Kim was stunned to see the stranger standing before him. He didn't think much of the unknown girl at first, but Young said she had come to answer his question. She told him directly, "My name is Young." The moment Kim realized that this was the same girl who had been sending him messages, a smile spread across his face. After all this time, the two of them had finally met. A short while later, another siren sounded, and the bus was allowed to move again. The sudden jolt of the bus caused Young to lose her balance, and her hand landed right in Kim's hand. One can only hope that the story of these two wonderfully strange souls will lead to something beautiful ahead. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.